Hello, friends. Glad to get a chance to spend a little bit of time with you. I wanted to share with you a cool tool and how to install it. So let's go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. So the tool that I want to start with should be right here, but it's not in here in my list. And that tool is Anaconda. So I'm going to open up a search engine and I'm just going to type in Anaconda. This is something that I show friends, so it shows up for me, but it's just anaconda.com. Um, the nice thing about Anaconda is that it it does a few things nicely. For a high level discussion, or I'm sorry, for a very low on the details discussion, Anaconda just works. And if you've got a fairly recent PC that's fairly strong, you should be able to um, grab it and do what you like. Now, you don't have to put this anywhere special. I happen to have a second drive, so I just put it in my storage spot so that I don't take up. I've got two different hard drives. If you don't worry about that. But anyway, it downloads fairly quick. And once it does that, I'll open it. You can see where it downloaded. And it's got some tutorials and stuff like that, but that's not what we're interested in. Okay, didn't open for me. I think the download should have finished. Luckily, I knew I put it in a spot, so I'll know where to find it. And there we see Anaconda, and that was the one I downloaded today. So we'll pull that down, or we'll double click on it. We'll run it. Oh, we got two of them running. That's dangerous. Let's see here. So here's one. I'm going to hit cancel. And there's you want to quit? Yeah, because I think I've got another one already running. So it looks like the first time I clicked on it, it did run. You don't want to have two installers running at once, so you can just kill one off. All right. Terms of agreement, this is the kind of thing they put silly things in this. You either choose to accept their terms or you don't get the software. I'm just going to put this on my C drive. It looks like I've got more than enough room to do that for the software and as well as the programs. Um, you can add this to the path, but then notice how they say, but this may cause problems. And then register Anaconda 3 as my default 3.9. I think I will do the second one. If you really know this is what you want, click OK. I'm going to hit cancel and I'm going to leave that unclicked. And now I'll click install. Um, so anyway, uh, it does kind of coach you. I played with it just a little bit to see if that does anything different. Um, you don't have to. And on my machine is a fairly recent machine, and so it does the installation fairly quick. Um, is this the only way that this can possibly work? I'm going to go with absolutely not. Um, I'm going to check and make sure that there are a few tools that are working once we get this installed, and these are tools that have worked well for other people. Now, if you're one of those that's like, hey, I'm rocking a Chromebook, um, while this is setting up, I'll show you what I would recommend you do on a Chromebook. So I'll just do a search for online interpreter for Python or online compiler. Um, for people that are just getting started, don't worry about the difference between those two words. We can use them interchangeably from where we are at the point at this point. So we can there's one, two, three, four, five, six. So there's half a dozen different compilers. So this one already has Hello World queued up, so we'll run it. That works great. This one looks ready to go. I think you hit the go baby go button. So it's asking us to input the first number. So it's going to give us the sum of two numbers. So I'm going to do 30 and 12, and the answer is 42. Yay. Cool. So that second one works. It's a little more complicated of an example. Now I can hit run on this one, and it should say Python is awesome, XYZ. Okay, so it's storing these as variables. We got print statements, but that one works. Here's another one. And it runs. Here's another example, and you can just hit execute, and we see the result in the terminal. And then we've got this one over here. We'll mash the run button, and we see that it runs. Still going through the installation process. So it was running fairly quickly, but now it's slowed down just a little bit. The online versions work great if you don't want to install anything on your computer. It's possible that you'll run into some limitations, but when that happens, normally it's just do a internet search for other solutions to help you get around that. Now, having Anaconda installed on your PC works really well, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. But you can also use the command line. And so I'm just going to check something right quick, see if I've got Python installed on my computer. And it says, yes, I do have Python installed on my computer. So oops, well, I made a mistake. We'll see what happens. It says, hey, end of line scanning string literal. So I just hit the up arrow. I don't type that fast. I just hit the up arrow to get my last line back. We drop in that second quotation mark, and there we go. Now that to get out of this little environment, get out of the Python interactive mode, you just type exit. Changing directories is just the CD command. Is it still cranking? Yep, still cranking. All right. I've got a folder where I keep lots of fun examples. And then inside that, I've got a directory for CS1. And then I've got folders for chapter 1, chapter 2. So I'm going to CD into chapter 1. And see, we've got a few things already. I'm just going to make some code. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to use the Atom text editor. Show you where I get Atom right quick. I just do an internet search for atom.io. And there we got it. All right, so you can do the Windows download here, and this will run. So once this is installed on your computer, you can just find it. I think, yeah, I can find it as an app. I don't like to use it that way. What I like to do is in the terminal here, or the command prompt, I'll do something like, just type the word Atom, and then the computer knows to run the program Atom, but I wanted to run it with a specific file. So I'll tell it to run Atom with hello world. And so it takes the time to spin up Atom, which is a text editor, and then it starts me off in a file called helloworld.com. Now, one of the nice things about Atom, it's got this little blue circle of shame. And what that means is the file hasn't been saved yet. So I'm going to show you this just for an example. This file has not been saved and there's nothing in it. We just created it. So if I close it and click don't save, and then I type directory again, notice how it didn't appear. But now I'll run the same command again, adamhelloworld.com. Oh yeah, you know what? Coffee hasn't kicked in yet. And click don't save. Not com, that's a website. We want helloworld.py. That's a Python file. There we go. And now this time we'll go in and we will save this. Even though it doesn't have any stuff in it, now that it's saved, we see, here it is, helloworld.py, and it's got no bytes in it. So Atom does text and coloration and stuff like that, and it just makes things nice. I hit Control S out of habit so you can see that the little line disappeared. To get the little dot back, I'm going to say programming is fun. I did it again. All right. Okay, so there. Now you can see the little blue dot of shame, and I call it the blue dot of shame. I wanted to give it a catchy name because this is the name that lets us know that we haven't saved our file yet, which that is shameful, right? We always want to save our work. Our work is worthwhile. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. That's what I do with the other hand when you see me talking. So I come here and it says, okay, we've now got 106 bytes of information and it's called helloworld.py. Now to run this, to open it with the text editor, we used the command to run the text editor, Atom space, the file name. Now to run it, we'll just use the program we want to run it with, which is Python, the Python programming language. And then the name of the file. Now I'm going to press the tab key, 3, 2, 1, boop, and notice how it does autocomplete. Not all versions of Windows have that. I did some silly things when I was installing Git, so you may or may not have that, but it does make things nice. So tab to autocomplete is your friend because you can't tab to autocomplete when you've already misspelled the word. And so we run it by pressing enter, and we see hello world, programming is fun, choose your own adventure game ideas. So let's see if the Anaconda installation is finished. It has, yay. So I'm going to click next, and it says, hey, look at all this fun stuff. To be clear, the this is by the JetBrains organization, and DataSpell and PyCharm and all these other cool things. These are professional grades, stacks of software. They've got great capability, but they also have a steeper learning curve. So I'll click next. I would say this: there are free academic versions. I would say it's worth your while as a student to go out and get familiar with the free academic versions. I haven't chose to do that yet because it's more than I want to try to teach to I'm not going to do that tool justice. And most of what I try to teach is at a much lower level. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, even in Atom, there's starting to be some autocomplete and stuff like that. The more you get into JetBrains, the more stuff is just auto-completed. And so if you're learning it for the first time, it's not as good because you'll have to actually type more with a simpler tool like Notepad++ or um, there are even lower level tools. Atom is another lower level tool. The more you have to type, the faster you're going to learn it. So we're not going to do this for now. And it says, hey, there's lots of fun stuff like a tutorial and there's a getting started with Anaconda. I'm not going to open those up. We're just going to go and start using the tool. So I clicked finish and we'll verify nothing is running. Cool. So I'm going to come and now I'm going to launch Anaconda for the first time. and it's called Anaconda Navigator, and it's an app. Um, Try to get some things small. We see the command terminal pop up here. Yep. Oh, and there's the green circle. And it does take a little bit to fire up for the first time. So it's updating all sorts of stuff, and it's kind of getting settled in even while it's showing us that it can do a few things. Loading packages, all sorts of fun stuff. I'm going to start with one of the tools that is hopefully going to look a little bit, let's say, known, remind me later for now on the updates. Um, I want to start on like the lower end. So I'm going to launch the PowerShell. And so base, the word base here refers to the fact that it's in an environment called base. What makes Anaconda work so well is it actually sets up, you can imagine it as like shade computers or mini computers inside your bigger computer. And when they call it the base environment, I can show you what that means. Um, the environment here in Anaconda Navigator, they call it base, which is the root shell. Here's all the stuff that it already has loaded in it. And so you can look for uninstalled. Here's the stuff that has not been installed yet. And the idea behind this is you can have one environment for one project and install what you need. Even change out the versions of Python and stuff like that. And it's going to keep that wrapped in that mini computer called a container. Or if you want to do a different project, you set up a different container. And basically, the only thing that Python has to store special for that to work is it saves a base or an environment and it saves the configuration of that environment. But a lot of that configuration is actually going to pull information and resources from your host operating system. And so it's one of the lightest weight, most efficient ways to have different environments set up on your computer. More complex, more involved ways. Some of you might have heard of a virtual machine. And a virtual machine is a slightly heavier weight. You actually get a full operating system installed inside of a virtual machine. And then on top of that, for complexity, you can also do what they call a dual booter. And so you'll have a grub loader that can say, all right, which machine do you want to go into? Do you want to boot into your Windows machine? Do you want to boot into a Linux machine? You can even get Macintosh computers, Apple operating systems on these. So that's part of what makes Anaconda magical, but I want to show you that it's not that much different. Okay, hopefully this is looking a little bit familiar. dir tells us what's in the directory. cd says to change directories. And hey, there's our hello world. So I'm just going to open this up. Um, Not quite sure what text editors are installed. I'll test this one first. This is just Nano. Nano is a different text editor. All right. And now Nano's got the commands down on the bottom for what you can do. I'm going to use Control X to exit and then saying, hey, do you want to save that? You added some stuff. So I'm going to hit yes, Y for yes. And it says, do you want to change the file name? And I'm just going to hit enter because I don't want to change the file name. And now I can try to run it. And we can see we've added that one line. I'm going to try a different approach. Oops. Tab to complete still works. I'm going to try typing atom instead of atom. And it's happy this time. Whoops. Um, close that. That did not look correctly. Try opening it again. There we go. That's got our line. Now do print. Save that. Close it. And now we can see it'll run here as well. I use dir again. And here we see last write was just a couple of minutes ago, and that our file continues to get longer. I'm going to try one more thing. The command code could possibly open up Visual Studio Code, which is what I would like it to do. Yeah, here we go. This is Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to type. Oh, what's it saying? Ah, Windows Defender said, "Did you know it's trying to do some sketchy stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was me. I wanted it to do that." I'm going to close this survey off because it's distracting. All right, here we go. Print. Excuse me. Oh, why are you getting huffy? I wonder. So this is got a white dot of shame. So Control S, or you can file save. And then I think sometimes I'm able to make this run. I'm going to try to run without debugging. It says, "Hey, this is a workspace we've never used before." Yeah, I just installed Anaconda, so it's not sure about this. I hit run. It was not happy about a lot of stuff, but we see down here, hello world, all the way to hello from Visual Studio Code. So you can run it in here. You can also just come back here and run it, and it's going to run just the same. Um, here's a few different options. I'm going to show you one more option right quick for a text editor. So this is called Notepad++. Hmm. I'm going to use the Happy Users Edition. Oh goodness. I love the creativity and the freedom that people in the computer world tend to express in their thoughts. Um, let's see if this is done. Yep, that downloaded quickly. English sounds like a great choice. All of that sounds good. I'm going to assume that's the right list of components. I don't have any reason to change it. I'm not going to create a shortcut on the desktop. And this is Notepad++. Let's see. I'm going to do File, Open. There we get the dialog pop up. So C, and then I'll go back to users, my folder, and then I've got this handy little thing called Git. And there's our SWASU Python examples, Computer Science 1, Chapter 1, and there's our Hello World file. So I'll add another line. So I just made sure that I had a period at the end of this. Um, if it's inside the quotation marks, you really don't have to worry about it too much. So I'm just going to button mash it right quick. I'm going to hit save. It turns from red to blue. I'm going to fix this. And now it's red again. And I'll save it. And now it's blue. So that makes me happy. Now, let's see if this can run it. Well, I didn't quite do that correctly, obviously. See if it can run it this way. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. So anyway, I'm going to close Visual Studio. I'm going to go back here to our humble. Oh, we've got this interface. This will work. And we can run it from this environment. And it says hello from Notepad++. So to run these files, you just type Python and the name of the file, and it'll run. This is actually my preferred method. I just feel like it's lighter weight, but it's not the only method, right? So I'm going to go back here to our environment in Anaconda. Atom, Notepad++, and Visual Studio Code, those can all be ran outside of Anaconda or they can be ran inside Anaconda. I say that. Let's try. You can also run Visual Studio inside Anaconda. We'll see what this looks like if this works. Cool. So here's Anaconda. Um, Getting started. This is more work than I want to do right now, so I'm going to close that. File, open a file. I don't know where that was relative to where I wanted to be. So I'll pop back here. See, oh, users. So C, users, and my file name, which is my path. And then I have this handy little folder called Git that I keep all my Git repositories in. This is our repository for the class. CS1, chapter 1, hello world. Says, hey, do you trust the author? It was me. I know him. It was me. Um, and then we'll save this, and the little dot changes, and then we'll run this. This time it was a little happier. Like I said, Anaconda just works and it makes things a little bit happier. And so we can see we've got all of our nice little outputs there. That's cool. We'll close this. Here's a different one that comes with Anaconda called Spider. And this is just a different text editor. One of the really logical questions that you should ask right now is, but Jeremy, why? Why do we do this? Um, so what I want to show you is there are actually lots of different ways that you can go in and edit a text file, and that's all a program is. It's a text file. Um, I've got a few old programs here. Spider recognized that it has been used for Python before, so it went in and found stuff. Oh, I think it just opens up a new one every time I close one, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, file, open, and we'll go C, users, back to my stuff, down here to this little file called Git. Python examples. Oh, CS1. I got confused. And there it is. Cool. I forgot to look. There's a typo. I'm going to leave it. Just, I want you to understand the stuff that's green, that's comments. You can type essentially anything you want. Notice this is the asterisk of shame. So we'll save it. Boop. Asterisk of shame goes away. The nice thing about working in Spider is, if I remember correctly, I thought it had a, I don't want debug. There it is. Big green shiny triangle. Mash the go, baby, go. And there we see it all runs. Cool. Um, there's a slightly different animal that I want to show you next. So I'm going to copy all of this code. I'm going to come back here and I want to show you something called a Jupyter notebook. Now, notice that Jupyter Notebook opens up in a web browser. See, these are all my web searches from before. This is actually a Google Chrome tab. Um, but we've got the same Git. We've got SWASU, CS, Python examples. We can still find our stuff and we can open it. But notice how there's no Go Baby Go button up here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to come up and I'm going to do new. And I'm going to call this create a new notebook. So this is going to be a Python 3 notebook. And I'm going to change this from untitled to hello world Jupyter. Click rename. And I'm just going to paste in all the code that we had before. And then I'm going to add down at the bottom of it. I just changed my mind. I feel like all of this other stuff at this point is just noise. So I don't really want it. So I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm going to click run. And we can see, okay, that still works. All right, let's bring that noise back. I'll run that. Check this out. When I hit the run button, it only runs this once, and the output of that code is here. Then it runs this once, and the output of this code is here. So the concept of Jupyter Notebook is you can run individual cells. And now your Python program as a whole now gets broken down further into individual cells. All right. So again, this goes back to the question of, Jeremy, why? Why have you shown us a dozen different ways that you can run Python and write Python code? Half of them weren't even on your computer. They were running off of somebody's server. This seems ridiculous. This seems excessive. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to make here is whatever you have to do to get the code to run on your computer, I'm okay with that. This is a very frustrating point in programming. It's finding the first stack of software that will actually make your code work. And so the reason that's frustrating is sometimes things just don't work. I've got a computer right next to me right now. Anaconda does not run Spider. So I'm going to have to uninstall it and reinstall it. I'm willing to do that about once. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to go to one of the other 11 remaining possibilities. And let's say that I go through all 11 possibilities and none of those possibilities work on my computer. First, that would be unusual because 6 of them aren't even on my computer. They're all just web resources. And I know this might come as a shocker. There might be more than 6 responses. I just stopped checking at 6 to see if they worked. The second thing I want to point out is it's not fun to have to fight these kind of battles. And that's why I like to come up with lots of good options. But Anaconda, in general, if you've got a beefy enough computer that you can run it, this is going to work great. Most modern MacBooks are going to work. Most modern Windows machines are going to work. Most modern Linux boxes are going to work. And so if you're running Ubuntu or something else like that, Anaconda works just fine. If you're running Windows, Anaconda works just fine. If you're running Mac OS, Anaconda works just fine. Anaconda does not work fine if you're running a Chromebook. However, if you were running a Chromebook, your Chromebook was designed to do web interfacing, just use a web browser and use one of those other ones that I showed you. Friends, I know that's a lot of information, but the whole point of this discussion is installing stuff can be hard. And it looked easy on mine. Like there weren't a whole lot of things that we had to do, and just magically everything just worked, right? Notepad plus plus. I haven't installed that for probably 10 years. It just worked. We went to open up Atom and have Atom linked into our Anaconda stuff. It just worked, right? If you find your stuff isn't just working, this is why we've got the Discord channel. And if you haven't made it on the Discord channel, where you go to find that, go to tinyurl.com/SwasuJeremy. That'll redirect here to this page. And you can just scroll down here and boom, there's a link to get you the invite for Discord. It should be unlimited number of people and it should never expire. Once you get to that Discord link, I'm not sure what's going to happen here because I'm already, oh, yep, there. It launches as me. This is the welcome page. I'm going to assume that we get past that and I'm going to get down here to general. You can throw questions like this into general. You can also throw it in, help me please. There we go. So help me please is another place you can post questions. Also, there's office hours. I'm gonna get you back to where you can find my office hours. Um, these office hours are subject to change. If I've got a team that wants to work with me and they're like, hey, I tell you what, this whole 12 to 1 block, that would work great. This whole 11 to 12 thing, that's not going to work at all. Cool. I might have to switch my schedule. But in general, if this, what's in the blue, doesn't line up for you, it's not like I completely turn into a pumpkin. Like I will admit, here I turn into a pumpkin. I'm trying to take a class helping me to do better at writing so I can write better grants, get more money for SWASU students to buy more equipment and have more jobs. I've also got this when I go pick up my little people, but I usually come back, except here I've got like music lessons or, dance lessons or who knows what comes up. We try to schedule that in that window. But if something comes up and you absolutely need me at one of those times, I can usually shuffle it and make other arrangements. I won't cancel class so I can meet with an individual student. So where I've got classes scheduled, that may not be the best time, but I don't want to say it's the worst either, right? If you're a computer science 1 student and you've absolutely got a question that relates to computer science 1, come on, come to class, ask your question in person, and then we'll work through it together. Because if you've got the question, a lot of other people have questions. Now, if you're in computer science 1, or if you're in discrete structures, which is kind of like a slightly upper level class, and you want to come to computer science 1 and ask the question, make sure that you've done some homework because my computer science 1 students are ruthless. They will burn you If you've got a problem that could have been Google searched, I'm not gonna be able to protect you from the freshmen. Just last year, they were in high school. They had to survive in the high school ways, and those kids are harsh. You come in and roll with my seniors. My seniors are like, I have had computers that would not that refuse to let me run Hello World, and they've been through more, so they've suffered more. They've got a little more kindness to them. Anyway, the point of all of this video is installing software is difficult. That's why we're here to help. I showed you a couple different ways that it can be done. Just because you see a video on YouTube, though, doesn't necessarily mean it works on your computer. And there are times when it won't work at all. I'm working on a hardware issue. I've got a server I'm trying to get an operating system installed on. Server's 18 years old. And so we're wondering if it has had a hard drive failure or not a hard drive failure. One of the components of the motherboard we think might be cooked, and it just won't go. And so I reach out to my friends. I've got it's a Dell server. I've got a buddy that used to work as in Dell in their help desk, and we're going to look at it together and we're going to see if we can make this work. And so the concept is don't be concerned about asking for help. You're not evaluated on were you able to do this completely without asking for help. What you're evaluated on is are you able to get the code running? That's what we want to see in this kind of a class. So don't be afraid. Don't be concerned. Don't be embarrassed or anything like that. Um, I would, in fact, I would go as far to say being embarrassed is a little bit silly. Um, we're all adults. We're doing the best that we can. If it turns out that it was a simple oversight, um, that's fun because as the person that might be helping you, if it's a simple oversight, like you didn't click a button, that's cool. That's easy. We'll click the button together. We'll run it. And the reason I say that, I've missed buttons myself and had things that won't install. I've done lots of things. I've done lots of silly things. Um, I won't share examples now, but yeah, stuff that I think more normal people should be embarrassed about. I'm like, it was my first time learning how to do this stuff. So anyway, friends, this is not a trivial thing. Hope if it is, and I'm wrong and it goes perfectly for you, I'm so happy. If it goes miserably wrong, um, the worst thing that I've ever seen happen, uh, we won't talk about that. That was an unusual situation. I've seen some crazy things happen. The likelihood of all that is low. We were able to get everything worked out in the end. However, it was a much longer process than we wanted it to be. So if you're nervous about this, if you just want help, whatever you need, let us know. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you all for your time and have a great day.